Right, sir. We will go ahead with the videos. I'll just play some videos.
Confused about your future career? Which program of study to take? What emerging and trending specializations to opt for? Are you going to have a great job and career after 4 years of study from now? Self-awareness will help you make the right and informed decision about the right program and the place that belongs to you in this era of industry and technology change. DSU, one of the leading universities in India, is among the top 3 universities in Karnataka and is coming back with its Right Career, Right Place, the webinar series 2023. A well-informed and inspiring webinar series, delivered by industry veterans and senior academicians, can lead you to choose the right career path based on your potential, passion, and industry trends. Our webinars will guide you from the current understanding of various programs to a more in-depth understanding of cutting-edge specializations based on new-age technologies. Join us to get insights about more thrilling career options that are available in future for you. Be the future leader, discover your purpose, and make the best decision for your futuristic career. Remember, after completing your degree, you should be in demand for trending and emerging job opportunities for your bright professional future. Right Career, Right Place, the webinar series 2023.
Dayanand Sagar University. Live the dream.
Confused?
Welcome to the School of Engineering at Dayanand Sagar University, main campus, Harohaldi, Kanakpura Road, Bangalore. A place that values research, innovation, and creativity. Our industry-aligned curriculum offers a blend of theoretical knowledge, practical experience, academic projects, and internships for a rewarding career in engineering. With an interdisciplinary approach, you can explore your interests by selecting open electives. The on-campus innovation labs, led by professors of practice, provide immersive learning and expertise to find the best solutions to real industry problems and give a different dimension to the students' mini and major academic projects. Our Center for Entrepreneurship supports startup opportunities and provides a perfect platform to launch your next big idea into successful ventures. We also prepare you for advanced studies in the latest futuristic technologies. Our BTech programs offer the perfect combination of academic rigor and functional experience in this ever-evolving technological landscape of the future. Experience a whole new world of academic excellence in a global environment. Dayanand Sagar University. Live the dream.
So we are good to go live. So we are good to go live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Hi and good morning to all of you. My name is Srinivas Shidde and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Dayanand Sagar University. And I take pride in welcoming all the aspiring students as well as the dignitaries and the panelists who are here with us on this wonderful morning to talk about something which has taken the front seat in every student's mind. Everybody talks about engineering. You have a lot of students today, especially the science students, who are one of the wonderful aspirants who look at computer science engineering to shape up their careers. But a lot of them are very confused in terms of what specializations to take. What happens if I choose a specialization? What happens if I am not able to choose a specialization? Or for that matter, I'm actually confused. People talk about AI ML, people talk about cloud technology, DevOps, people talk about cyber security, you have data science. I am just passing out of 12th. I am not sure what do I take. And while we see a lot of these queries coming in, we felt the right career, right place, the webinar series is something which we have been doing for the last 2 years. This will give clarity to the students when they are able to hear some of the experts from the industry who are going to give them an idea in terms of how exactly, first of all, do I look at computer science engineering as my career? If I'm going to look at computer science engineering as my career, what is it that I need to at least look at in terms of a specialization? And if I'm confused, if I'm not in a position to look at or choose a specialization on day one, can I choose a specialization probably in the year two? So all of this will be answered by our expert panel today. A very warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers for today's webinar. And I take pride in introducing all of them to our aspirants. I start by introducing Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, sir. Sir is the professor for computer science engineering and the vice chancellor at Dayanand Sagar University, Bangalore. Sir has been the former vice chancellor of PES University, Bangalore. Sir holds a bachelor's degree in electrical power engineering and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and a PhD in computer science and engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Sir has worked as a research specialist in parallel computing at New Mexico State University, US. Sir is currently the academic senate member of Triple IT Dharwad and also the former member of the Karnataka State Higher Education Council. Sir, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Shinde. Thank you.
I also would like to introduce a veteran from the IT industry, Mr. Arvind Srinivas. He has over 36 years of experience in the IT industry through TCS, working on different stages of an IT software lifecycle in different industry domains such as banking, finance, insurance, education, and manufacturing. He has worked in different roles, starting as a junior programmer and progressing to heading a multi-country account as a unit product head before being part of a group-level initiative of business excellence, interacting in the domains of aerospace, manufacturing, retail, IT, research, hospitality, and chemical companies in the Tata Group. Sir, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Shinde. Thank you.
I also take pride in introducing our third speaker for the day, Dr. Pradeep Desai. He is the co-founder and the chief business officer of SIA-MAF Healthcare. SIA-MAF develops the cancer theranostics products. He was the co-founder and CEO of Talsat Innovations Private Limited. Talsat develops accessible and affordable healthcare solutions based on digital technologies, human psychology, and AI. He held senior leadership positions at General Electric, Tata Consultancy Services, Philips Research, and Wipro Technologies. He has set up a research and innovation center, and he led the global teams. Dr. Prasad's passion is in medical technologies and AI. His network extends industry, academia, research organizations to enhance research and innovation. Sir, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
I hereby would like to request the Vice Chancellor, sir, to please take over to set the context and to share his views to our aspirants. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Shinde. Respected co-panelists, Professor Arvind Srinivas, Dr. Pradeep Desai, Ms. Shinde, and the participants who have joined this webinar. A warm welcome to each one of you. I'm extremely happy that Dayanand Sagar University has taken the lead to organize career info sessions called Right Career and Right Place to provide information about the various programs of study. We have been doing it in the last 3 years. The objective of this is to create awareness about a program of study so that the students and parents can make an informed choice in doing a program of study. Particularly after +2, there's lots of confusions with regard to the choice of the career, and everything seems to be attractive, everything seems to be really good. Under such circumstances, the informed choice has to be made. Quite often, I meet parents and students asking me one question, that is, whether the program or the course is important or the institution is important, which college to join, which institution join to pursue the bachelor study. My answer to all of them has been that both are not important, you are important. The student who is going to study the program study is more important, because the program and the institution will provide the necessary facilities, necessary infrastructure to pursue the studies of your choice. Therefore, you need to find out what is your passion, what you intend to do, what you intend to be. You may be having few role models. Possibly that's one of the things you need to start with. And there's no need to have any kind of doubts in your mind with regard to the question that I mentioned, the choice of course and the institution, etc. Possibly by end of this webinar or the info session, you will have the complete information. Let me apprise you of few things. What are the changes that are happening in the education sector today? You are aware that the higher education, whatever the education that's being done after +2 is normally called as higher education or the university education. The university education, higher education, is going through tremendous changes in the recent past. And if you just look at what exactly happening in the education sector, and there are three important things that are happening. The first, necessary for you to understand what's happening. One thing that's happening is the future requires a different kind of approach for education. One important thing that's required for the future is, apart from the conceptual knowledge of the subject, you also need to have the skills and also the application mindset. How exactly you can apply the concept to a newer application. That's one of the key things that are required for the future. What is required now? Currently, you need to have the conceptual knowledge and the skills. What was required in the past, the education of the past, was conceptual knowledge. When I graduated, conceptual knowledge was considered to be very, very important. Later on, conceptual knowledge plus skills became important. Now, for the future, it's conceptual knowledge, skills, plus the application mindset. How exactly you can apply it? Why is it required? It's required because there's a paradigm shift that's happened in the overall approach. What are those paradigm shifts? One paradigm shift is, in the past, taking admission in an institution was critical. That's more important. That was considered to be the key. Later on, it was considered you need to join an institute which is going to provide the placement opportunity. Placement or the employment was the key. Enrollment to employment. Future is an enterprise. Whenever you graduate from a school or an institute, you need to go with an idea to start a business. That is the requirement as far as the higher education sector is concerned. In that context, I request you to be aware of this. Second thing that you also need to look at is, what are the job opportunities? The job opportunities are growing tremendously in the last few years. The job growth is mainly because there's a digital transformation that's happening. Digital transformations are nothing but the rapid changes in the technologies and in the industries of the products. Therefore, digital transformation has provided lots of job opportunities. Which sector? All across the domains. Every branch of study has job opportunities. One prediction says that job opportunities will grow from 41 million to 191 million in the next 5 years to 385 million in the next 10 years. Which sector? All sectors. Whether it's computer science or the commerce, science, anything that you're going to talk about, the jobs are going to be available. That's one major thing that's happening. The other thing that you also need to remember is that you need to have one important change in your outlook. What is that outlook? You need to build that multidisciplinary knowledge. Means apart from the program that you're going to study, let's say you're going to join computer science. Computer science knowledge alone will not be helpful in the future. You need to know something more than computer science, something outside computer science. It could be law, it could be management, it could be any other thing. Therefore, other than the core branch, you need to do a minor degree or some other degree, which will be helpful to you to apply that knowledge. For example, the biology and engineering are closely related. Everything that happens in biology, the biological processes, there's an equivalent thing in the engineering. So engineering is all about building the devices or the concepts to realize the idea. Therefore, multidisciplinary learning becomes very, very important. The other thing that I would also request you to focus on in the future is to choose an institution which has understood this quite well. Whichever institution has understood that future is going in this direction. Therefore, the educational processes, the curriculum, the training must be fine-tuned to that particular thing. I'm extremely happy to tell you that Dayanand Sagar University has understood all of them quite well. And you are happy to know that the faculty team of Dayanand Sagar University has the faculty from industry, faculty from foreign universities, faculty from institutes of higher learning like IITs, IIMs, etc. We also have good number of faculty from other things. Therefore, this combination would give you a good idea with regard to the education for the future. I'm sure the experts would tell you more about what I mentioned, particularly the changes that are happening in computer science, and with reference to AI, they'll also show you the applications. That's where the application mindset comes into play. I'm extremely happy that I've been given an opportunity to share some of my thoughts with all of you and also give you some idea with regard to higher education. I request my panelists, co-panelists to take over and continue the discussion, provide you the information so that you will have the complete knowledge by end of this particular session, and you'll be very happy having all the information. Then it gives you a fantastic position to take a decision with regard to your higher studies. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the wonderful insights given to the students and your thought process shared with them. I now would like to invite Professor Arvind Srinivas to share his views on the computer science engineering, the changing era. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shinde. I'll just switch off my video to save the bandwidth because I'm not.
Sure.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir. You can have your screen sharing there.
Yeah, almost done. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Not yet, sir.
Oh,
You have to just go to that green screen sharing button. Yes, yes. Yes, sir, it's visible.
okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, good morning, participants, and good morning, Dr. Murthy and Dr. Desai, and all the participants here. In fact, it's been a very thrilling session to understand the way Professor Murthy spoke about the change that is required. In fact, the way I look at it is computer science is a critical and growing field of study. There are several ways computer science is changing life, and it's taking a new turn almost every day. Computers and computer scientists have changed the way we live. In fact, by 2025, it's estimated that we should be having about nearly 463 exabytes of data that we created every day globally. Just to give you an idea, it would probably mean 21 billion DVDs if you have seen a DVD before, or if you have one of those 1 terabyte external hard disk, that would mean 4,630 billion terabytes. That's the kind of size we are talking about data. Or when we look at, when I look at the first website which we created way back in 1992, there were just about 10 websites. 30 years later, or rather 31, 1992 to 2023 today, we see our lives are changed and heavily influenced by advanced computation systems. And we have now more than a billion websites. That's the scale which we are talking about. So I just want to take you through a little bit of what we call as a computer science engineering, which itself has taken a new turn, which is what I'm going to talk about. Because computer science engineering, you are all digital natives. You all know what is computer science in your own perspective, which I'm not going to change much. But I'll just give you different perspectives of what computer science is all about. But before we get into that, you need to understand as to why should I do engineering, because that's something which you have to think about. If you're not able to answer these three questions, which you see on the screen, the ability to solve problems or developing your own intellect or making a difference, then probably engineering won't be as exciting as what you think it is, because we don't want you to be compelled by your parents or peers to say that I should only do engineering and not something else. Take up any program which is your passion. I'm just only focusing on the program of engineering. So the first thing about the problem solving capability, let me explain a little bit as to what it means. One of the core aspects of engineering is analyzing everything before implementation. For example, an electrical engineer designing a product does brainstorming to find out the flaws and challenges. A civil engineer takes into consideration every single detail, including the weather, the flow of the wind before designing the house, the roof, and all of that. So in their analysis, the engineers include every limitation, possibility, the problem, and solutions while working. Such repetitive practice develops critical problem solving capabilities. Where regular people get stuck, the mind of an engineer finds it as a piece of cake to solve the problem. So you must have the innate ability to solve problems. Be it in your own house, probably what you must have seen, the small switch, or probably the fuse in the electrical circuits, or probably the ceiling fan. Unless you have that curiosity and ability to solve the problem, you don't need to solve the problem because you may not have the tools. But if you have the ability to understand where the process lies, then that's why you should be doing engineering. Developing your intellect is something which is also something which happens as you develop interest in engineering. The entire thinking process is reordered during this program of engineering. Logical thinking, critical analysis, multi-dimensional relation amongst elements is few of the regular practices, and precise calculations as well as you keep going along. To making a difference, engineering, what the bottom line of why engineering? The engineering is a degree which enables anyone to apply technology to solve real life problems. Engineers fix problems, design better solutions, and innovate to revolutionize the world. Starting from molecular development, which is what Professor Murthy talked about, biology and all that, where we had to the marvelous skyscrapers, everywhere you will see the role of engineers. Every day, our world is becoming little better primarily because of what we had yesterday and how we are making improvements today. Guess who's making the difference? We believe you have got the correct answer, engineers. So why study engineering? It is to contribute to developing a better world. I'm sure most of you would have seen what you see on the screen. This is the joy of discovering your own backyard. How does Alexa work? Many of us live with this Alexa already in terms of either switching on to songs or switching on the TV or the fan or whatever you may have in your house. Many of us live with this AI, an array of unseen algorithms that control our internet connected devices, from smartphones, security cameras, cars that cool the seats before you have even stepped out of the house on a hot morning. And especially some of you who are in the summers right now, there are IoT devices. If you have parked the car for not being able to get the car or scooter in a shade, then it becomes very hot. So there are facilities in the IoT itself which makes you cool your seat before you go there. But while we have seen AI, the sun, we have yet to see it truly shine. Engineers make the world a better choice. They take a fuzzy idea, which is a little hazy, that's what I mean, and then turn it into something real. They use maths and science to solve the problems and create new products or services. You can build your own game if you like. That's typically what it's all about. So with this background, I just thought I should formally welcome you to the various disciplines of computer science. The one you see on the top is AI. The one on the left-hand bottom is the data science. And the one on the extreme right bottom is what I call cybersecurity and all. So with this, I just thought I should formally welcome you for this webinar, which Srinivas Shinde has rightly called it as in computer science engineering has taken a new turn. We'll experience a little bit of this. I'll also share some of my own practical examples, which I've seen in real life. So look at this. This is an example of a fan. This is again an example of a small internet IoT device. The vertical rod there has a small device which basically connects to the internet, and it's a 5-blade fan, probably about 1200 mm. And you don't need to use the regulator to turn the knob on off. Those are the olden days. Now it has made you a little lazy by using a small remote, which I in fact do that. And in fact, with Alexa itself, if you are able to connect it, then you can you can even speak to Alexa to say that turn it to 3, 4, whatever you want. This is a small example of one device of IoT devices. Or look at this, the other one, which I'm sure many of you would have seen. This is the light which you see where you can control the light with the remote, and these are all connected through the same Wi-Fi. As long as it's all connected to the same Wi-Fi, then there's no problem in terms of using this. This is another example where I just wanted to talk about something which you may not have seen, or probably some of you are just getting into the voting age. This is something what I call as a blockchain diagram, which I'm attempting to do that right now in terms of trying to help people create a small voting application right from the time you register your vote at the local booth level officer, then standing the queue where you go in, and that's recorded. And then the way you cast your vote, and then the VVPAT, the verification process, which happens, the small chip, it still keeps your vote a secret. It doesn't show you to whom you voted, but it just tells you that you voted. And then subsequently, when the results are out, you get to know what's happening. Now, all this is possible as part of a huge activity, one of the programs called blockchain, which I'll not get into much detail, but just wanted to show you a classic application which tells you how to trace different steps in a huge chain process which happens. And that's what is blockchain all about. So just now let's look at some of these things one by one, each one of them. The first thing is I want to draw a small Euler-Band diagram, which some of you would have seen here. The first thing is the basic discipline of computer science and engineering. Some of you have already done it in your 12th standard, the basic computer science as part of the subject. Then you have another huge subject called mathematics, and you can see a small gray area, which is an overlap or the union of these two sets, which is what we are going to see shortly. And the third part is the business domain, or the knowledge in whichever business you are going to be doing. It can be banking, it can be healthcare, it can be finance, it can be biology, it can be medicine, whatever it be that, manufacturing, whatever. So these are three critical components. The fact that you learn computer science alone is not enough, or the fact that you know mathematics alone is not enough. We also need to understand the third dimension of what I call the business or domain knowledge. And that's what Professor Murthy was referring to earlier as an interdisciplinary science. No longer are we in a state where we want to focus purely on only one discipline, because we do understand that all the programs do exist coherently, and the way an engineer can solve a problem is by integrating all the different disciplines together and make solving a particular problem. So looking at what exactly are we talking about? If you look at the intersection between computer science and engineering and maths, then you see what we call as a machine learning. That's what will be one of the programs we'll be looking through. This is the other domain of business domain knowledge and computer science and engineering. If you have to intersect these two, then you get the field of software development, where I spent a lot of time in terms of different business domains working across different continents, different platforms, be it COBOL or be it Unix or IBM or whatever be that. And the third one is something which probably got missed out, because most of you are only thinking that placement is only opportunity. But I'm sure my colleague, Dr. Pradeep Desai, will talk a little bit, where he's talking on the traditional research, which intersects between business domain, where he's working on with the help of mathematics and a little bit of computer science. And ultimately, data science is a conglomeration of all computer science, mathematics, and the business domain knowledge. This is just to give you a bird's eye view of different disciplines of broadly computer science, which we are heading in. We'll get into this as we go along deep dive. So computer science, which AI, that's what we're looking into right now. The first thing is there are certain things called buzzwords, as what I call AI, machine learning, and things like that. What exactly is it? The goal of AI is primarily to mimic and surpass human intelligence. That's what is happening. You will see that later. In fact, the first thing which you need to understand is, do you understand the specialization beyond the birds? If it's no, or if you've done something in this 12th standard, 11th standard, then that's fine. Nothing to worry. So with this input in mind, we just need to look at primarily the experts or the rule-based systems, what you have for each of these systems, what you see on this. Or probably what I call machine learning, which is an approach that AI learns from rules directly from data and not through experts. For example, the fact that 5 plus 3 is equal to 8 or 8 plus 3 is equal to 11, it just looks at the data and looks at the pattern and then understands, and not necessarily by formally understanding the concept of addition. I'm just giving a very insignificant example to make sure that you understand things a little better. This is just the broad concept of AI or ML. But it's also something which one has to look at in terms of, because AI is now becoming of late quite dangerous. So is it fair? Is it accountable? And is it transparent and ethics? Because I'll show you some problems of ethics as well when you see with AI. So artificial intelligence is something what, as I said earlier, is trying to mimic the human behavior, and machine learning is a subset of that, where it tries to build models of data based on probabilistic and linear algebra. Look at this animation on the left-hand side. The person on the left-hand side playing chess is a person called Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov at one time was considered almost unbeatable for quite some time. And in fact, when Garry Kasparov started becoming the envy of many a person, then that's a time when people started saying that, well, he's unbeatable. And that is when in 1997, probably when most of you are probably not been born, the Deep Blue, the computer from IBM, it defeated Garry Kasparov. So essentially what we are talking about is AI is a bigger concept to create intelligent machines that can simulate human thinking capability, behavior, whereas machine learning is an application or a subset of AI that allows machines to learn from data without being programmed explicitly. AI requires a foundation of specialized hardware, software for writing and training machine algorithms. No one programming language is synonymous with AI, but just to give an example, Python, R, Java are some of those more popular ones of late. In general, the AI systems work by ingesting large amounts of labeled training data, analyzing the data for correlations, patterns, and using these patterns to make predictions about future states. In this way, a chatbot that is fed examples of text bots can learn to produce lifelike exchanges with people, or an image recognition tool can learn from cognitive skills, learning, reasoning, and self-correction. I'm sure some of you would have used this Amazon's chatbot or the Big Basket's chatbot, where it tells you, did you get the order and all that. And the more the challenges you give to it, the more it learns. So that's typically how these things learn. Let me show you another example here, where you can see a small video game, small video of what you see called DARPA Grand Challenge.
Welcome to the DARPA Grand Challenge. The objective, create a self-navigating autonomous vehicle that can safely drive 132 miles through a harsh desert environment without human intervention. Yes, these are robot cars, and if you've ever wanted to see the future, take a good look, because it's right in front of you. The technology we see here will be used in the military within the next few years, and eventually, robots like these may be taking you to and from work. But it's not easy. 43 teams from around the country began with dreams of building a robot capable of conquering this course. Only 23 teams earned the right to run in the $2 million DARPA Grand Challenge final.
In fact, let me tell you, DARPA Grand Challenge started off in 2004. And interestingly, the driverless car competition was a 212 kilometers off-road course that began at 6:40 a.m. on October 8, 2005, where we were all present at the time. I still remember, near the California-Nevada borderline. And you won't believe, Robert Stanley was the was a robot which was specialized to develop high-speed desert driving without human intervention. That won the competition. That was amazing. And what you see here is a small video which is about 18 years old. But right now you see in the Ukraine war, or probably many other places, many of these automatic robots without any loss of human lives being used. Though for this purpose, I would definitely call this a little ugly in terms of the way it's being used for defense purposes. Or look at another example of your Gmail reply prompter. I mean, the fact that most of you are using Gmail, and if you just say yes, that's nothing but a small prompt using AI and ML. Or probably if you look at this other example of the Gmail reply prompter, which some of you must have seen on your mobile, be it the iOS or the Android or whatever you have. All this is nothing but an example of a typical AI. Or look at this other example. This is called generative AI. It's a very short clip. You can just see how things are happening here. This is where I would say that it's very dangerous to use AI if there is no ethics boundaries defined for them, because you can make anything and everything happen. This is in fact a generative AI for generating new videos out of an existing one using text prompts and images. I have used this tool called Runway, which has been used to build this content. I just wanted to show you how things can change sometimes AI, which may not be necessarily good. Or look at this. This is another example of 5 philosophers where they walk into a bar. Socrates, Confucius, Aristotle, Epictetus, and knights, and they have a chat thanks to AI. Look at this. All this has been done using generative AI, generative artificial intelligence. Socrates, this is Confucius.
The volume is not coming into it.
Oh, that's the reason I had the texts which was coming in behind, because my audio is little poor here.
Got it.
That's why I had some text which. So this is again another tool called Runway, which I developed trying to create this. So now you must have seen how your movies like Bahubali or RRR or many of those things can actually be done applying some of these tools and techniques. You just need a little thinking, creativity. Of course, I use very dumb one because I knew some of these people's old photographs and all. So the imagination is a limit if you use it properly. But the risk here is make sure that you do it ethically. That's where the challenge is. So what are the typical entry-level jobs available for AI? programmer, machine learning developer, cognitive developer, deep learning, RPI, remote programming analyst. I mean, RPA and all are subsequently down the line, much later. In fact, some of the factories in Titan and other places, they all use the TTK Prestige, for example. They all use this RPA, remote processing control, to pack all the pressure cookers into boxes and then them into larger boxes and all, which is quite exciting. But of course, that won't be at your entry level. This will come in maybe 3 to 5 years after you get the job. The next part I just thought I'll quickly talk about is the data science. What exactly is data science? It's a study of vast volumes of data using modern tools and techniques to find unseen patterns, derive meaningful information in a domain, enabling business decisions. That's typically what this is all about. And they say that data is a new oil. In fact, in the 1970s, we used to say petrol and all as a new oil. And in fact, now they say electricity, and now they're talking about lithium-ion cells probably being the new one. But then data continues to be the new oil, because as you can see here on the screen, the domain knowledge, the computer science, maths, physics, the intersection of the three, data science, and data conditioning is what you see, where you see a small filter, and the calibration or the harmonization of space and time is something which makes the data cleaned up and ready for data. In fact, my experience tells me that cleaning data takes nearly 40 to 50% of any project. And that's the kind of quality of data. Like we talked about earlier, the voting patterns. In fact, in my area where people had come, there was more than 18 to 20% of the people who are actually no longer alive because they're quite old. But their data quality on the voter form still said that they're still alive. And only when the booth level officer came to people's houses to say that, sir, you're all having 2 or 3 people above 80 years old, do you want a facility to vote from home for them? Then they realized, oh God, these people have already been ticked off the list. And because the data, the form to tell them that the death certificate was given to them more than 8-10 years back, but the fact that it was not updated probably raised issues on this. And this is where a lot of data cleaning is required. And that's where in India, we have a lot of challenges about data cleaning. So just to give you a few beyond the buzzwords of data science, as I said, data science is primarily to improve decision making using data plus computation. It primarily is involving key skills, preparing large data volumes for computational analysis. But the key word in data science is actually not data. You won't believe. It's actually patterns, as what I call. Look at this on the bottom of the screen, where you see the Simpsons paradox. If you look at the patterns, you can either draw a line like the way you see right now, or probably 5 lines which are going across. Now, that's the beauty of the data science, as opposed to probably mere data, because otherwise, if you just look at a set of small dots, what you see on the screen. So this is just to give you an idea of what data science is all about. And just to give you an idea of how does the entire data science happen. The first thing on the left-hand side, as you can see, you define the goal of your project. What is it that you want to do? Get the data, which is the bottom part of the second step here on the left-hand side. Then clean the data, which, as I said, takes nearly 30 to 50% of your time sometimes, because the data quality is generally not very good. Then try to enrich the data by trying to, don't change the data. What I don't mean that. I mean saying that enrich the data by doing more analysis, and then find out insights and visualize the data and deploy the machine learning and iterate. And over an iterative process, you get fantastic data. All this can be done very quickly. So where do you actually see all this happening? Look at this example here. You must all be watching some of you the IPL, especially today between KKR and RCB, I think in IPL today. See, this is the entire ball tracking, the impact online. Everything is all done within a fraction of a few seconds for the third umpire. And the decisions, such as the one what you see on the LBW decisions, are all done using predictive analytics, using data science. And this is another example which I just thought I should probably share. This is a small hotel in Germany where they created a small data science image using to do 3D carpets, because this gives you the feeling that the entire carpet is uneven, because the kids were running a lot around in that hotel room. And therefore, they created this photograph on the website to say that, look, please don't make your children run, otherwise they'll fall and they'll fall with the thud. But the reality is it's actually horizontal. But the illusion which one gets is it's having a lot of undulations based on this thing. And this was something what at that time called as a creative usage of data science. So what exactly are the career options for data science? As you can see on the left-hand side, you start off with a data analyst and then becoming a data engineer, business analyst, or mining engineer, architect, and scientist. I mean, It progressively starts from 1 and then moves on until 6. That's typically one of the examples is what I would like to give here. But I want to give another guide to a completely new process of becoming a data scientist in terms of a data analyst for a 12-stage process. As long as you're good in maths, that's not a big deal. Then you can learn Excel to avoid those basic calculations. Then some of those things which you learn is Python, SQL Server, which you learn in your course as you go along. Then data preparation, explore data analysis, machine learning libraries, soft skills, ethics and privacy, that's very important. Then business understanding, as I said earlier, the domain of business knowledge, and storytelling. And finally, there is something called visualization of data, which is probably a little too much for me at this point of time, but just wanted to give you a peek of the world. Let it be heard, saying that there's something called data visualization. The third thing which I want to talk about, probably the final, cybersecurity. What exactly is the cybersecurity? The goal of cybersecurity is to protect the assets from digital attacks, as you can see, and recover from attacks as well. In fact, this is going to be the biggest job opportunity and also the toughest because, as you can see, India currently has more than 48 billion UPI transactions. And in fact, places like Bangalore, Noida, Chennai, and the big 5 cities, they apparently have the largest volumes of UPI data, where earlier there was a problem of change. And now people just show the scanner, get the scan done with either one of those 28 UPI applications, be it PhonePe, Paytm, or whatever. All this is now causing a lot of risk, and that's where cybersecurity professionals come in. It's a technology arms race, as what I call, not unlike the earlier days. And there are policies to protect against the weakest link. And ethical hacking is something which is being done by many companies, where they try to hack their own website to see vulnerabilities within themselves. So this is typically what cybersecurity is all about. As you can see, information security is primarily both analog as well as digital information. Then ICT security is only on the digital information, which is what you'll be focusing on, cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is the things other than the digital, but also vulnerable through the ICT. That's typically what happens. This is a classic example of what happens in a typical cybersecurity framework, where it's the application of tools, technologies, policies, processes. So there are 6 things here: tools, technologies, policies, processes, controls, and procedures. All these things together form cybersecurity, which is a major opportunity for people right now. Why? Because it's required for the protection and recovery of networks, devices, systems, applications from digital attack. And especially we must have seen a lot of these scams happening, saying that somebody sent you an OTP or KYC on the SMS. How do you do all that? All this is possible if you're able to do within the 30 minutes or whatever time, where you're able to trace the IP address and get that back going all across. Now, network security. Let me just talk a little bit about this network security. A computer network primarily composes of, as you can see here, 2 or more computers that are connected either by cables, wired, or through a Wi-Fi, with the purpose of transmitting, exchanging, or sharing data. And network security is a broad term that is used to describe the protection of all computing resources from availability, confidentiality of attacks. This involves anti-malware, the firewall, which you can see on the screen, intrusion data, and all of that. And this is typically what we're talking about, where the firewall is just a dummy computer, where it tries to prevent and bounce off all those things. On the right-hand side, you can see the user cross, or probably the scarans, as you can see on this network security. Now, the other part is application software security, which is where I worked a lot. Application software is nothing but a computer program that performs a specific function, be it educational, personal, or business. The system software is the foundation like Microsoft Windows or Android or the other base software, which application software sits on. Application security is the practice of protecting your applications from malicious attacks by detecting and fixing security weaknesses in your application code. Look at this, for example. If a student management system is insecure, if the admission branch can be edited, the date of exam, then it's a very insecure system. Or an ERP system is not secure, if the data entry operator can generate reports by himself or herself. Or an online shopping mall has no security, if the customer credit card is not encrypted, because you don't want the person on the other side to see the customers. That's why you see many of them having the XXXs and the last 3 digits or whatever. Or a custom software possesses inadequate security if an SQL retrieves the actual password of the user, though it's it should never be retrieved. These are some small examples of a security flaw in a typical application. So just touching upon cloud security, which I talked about earlier. The term cloud computing, which we didn't talk much about earlier, it encompasses a range of services delivered via the internet by cloud providers. Cloud-based services refer to computing resources such as servers, storage, networks, and tools such as runtime, OS, and middleware, and ready-made solutions that users can leverage on demand. Cloud security, the process of securing assets, primarily protecting data that reside within a third-party service providers. And you can see here an example of a data center or probably an access control. These are all things as part of a typical cloud security. And this is just a small graphic to indicate that how this cloud security happens. Typical entry-level jobs for them, you start off with an information security analyst, then assuring security. Because once you learn what is information security, then somebody comes to you, you can assure them saying that you're protecting them. Then the ethical hacker, which calls for a separate certification, cyber security tester, and so on and so forth, as seen on the screen. So just wanted to make sure that you follow your dreams and develop the passion for your chosen program of study, because I just want to conclude with one last slide here, which comes right now. Learning is a behavior that can't be forced. It needs to be developed, nurtured, inculcated through care, engagement, and yes, a lot of encouragement. And that's where you choose the right college, which is what Professor Murthy said, choosing the right program and the right college, where all these things can happen. Because it's a behavior which if you don't have right now, you can still get that going. So thank you very much. And we understand that COVID is currently back from what you should be here on the screen. And thank you very much and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Arvind Srinivas. It's always a great opportunity for students to listen to you, to get a deeper understanding of your experience that you have demonstrated today in terms of showing the various specializations. Thank you so much for your time. I would now request Dr. Pradeep Desai to share his views on AI ML to the students. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the university, Professor Murthy, to give me an opportunity to talk to you youngsters. And my topic would be basically to look at how AI/ML is actually transforming or making things, basically it is, I would say it's a very disruptive situation. And what you're seeing actually is the starting point of the disruption. You will actually see more of it as we move into next 5-10 years. The whole way of doing business, the whole way of doing, in our case, we work in the area of healthcare, how diagnostics therapy would be given. That could be hell a lot of disruption there. So I would kind of try and help you out, not only in the healthcare space, but also what are the other applications of AI/ML. And I'll just take off my video because maybe there's a bandwidth problem.
Sure, sir. You can go ahead and do the screen sharing.
Yeah. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, you can go on to the presentation mode.
All right. Okay. So since I'm actually talking on AI/ML, this is a figure that I want to show all of you, simply because there is some amount of confusion in understanding what really is AI, what is ML, and what is deep learning. And these words today, AI/ML has been used so commonly, and it's been used extensively in everything. So maybe a little bit of understanding of what actually it is. In fact, Arvind has done that, but I may want to add a few more things to it. So fundamentally, AI, which is artificial intelligence, is a set of people thought they could actually mimic or model the human brain or how the mind works. How do humans actually solve problems? And way back, I would say, in fact, my PhD way back in '94 has been in AI. Of course, nobody knew much about AI then. And AI was pretty much rule-based. And what I mean by rules is you start writing rules. If there is an apple and you want a machine or to identify an apple, you start writing things like the apple is red in color, it is round in shape, it has a smooth skin, and you start writing rules like that. And obviously, very quickly you understand that that model doesn't work because you can't just keep on writing rules after rules. Though it was quite popular in some for some usages or some applications, definitely it cannot be scaled up. So that was one of the reasons why actually AI did not pick up. So if you wonder whether AI is something brand new, I would like to tell you that actually AI has been there for at least last 30 years, except that it was in a totally different form and shape. And one wonders why suddenly AI has picked up, right? So why everybody is talking about AI in the last 5 years is simply because if you look at any technology, it has to be very supported by the infrastructure. So if you look at the power of computing today and the amount of storage that one can do on the amount of volumes of data and the ability to process that data in a certain way, and these are something that really AI needs. I mean, when I say AI, I'm not talking about rule-based, but I just moved down to machine learning, right? So when you talk about machine learning and deep learning, is nothing but a set of tools or techniques that does not, actually look at rule-based. It has a totally different way of handling or extracting intelligence. So when we had this kind of infrastructure available, obviously the technology got a boost. And once you have the infrastructure and the technology, you start to think where I can apply this. And the first set of people who would like to do that would be the business guys. Because at the end of the day, they have to continuously look at how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate from your competitors? So that is why today you see why AIML is kind of becoming very popular. So fundamentally, if you look at machine learning, so AI is actually a very general term. In the broad sense, you try to mimic the human brains, right? And like I said, the rule-based method is not the way we think. And therefore, what is machine learning then? So machine learning actually looks at, like what Arvind mentioned, it looks at patterns, right? It looks at certain patterns and tries to realize, understand. You show them a couple of patterns. Now I show, instead of writing rules, I show 20 types of apple. Okay, an apple can be green, it can be red, it can be a combination of green and slight yellow, so many combinations. So if I can show it patterns and also talk about its features in terms of like what is this taste, how sweet it is, when you cut it, how does it look? And if you start to take that and kind of model it, you start to get patterns. And if you can process that pattern in a certain way, right? So pattern matching is something that is also supported by a whole lot of mathematics. So you can actually come up with mathematics to support your machine learning or to find out the patterns. So that is how actually machine learning, the word machine learning is basically trying to look at patterns. So therefore, it's a subset of AI. And so what is deep learning? So deep learning is, I would say, very close to how human thinks, right? If you understand the human brain, it consists of, a whole lot of neurons, which are actually not, hardwired. They're actually floating and they do connections depending on what intelligence needs to be extracted. So it's a unique, I would say, organ or, thing in your head that is very fuzzy, flexible, and it can kind of do whatever it wants depending on on the conditions outside. So deep learning tries to mimic that. So what therefore deep learning is, what we call as artificial neural networks. So that's why we use the term artificial neural networks, because it is nowhere close to the neural network that we have in the brain. But if you really look at it, in some sense, we are trying to model, how the human brain works or how a human mind works. So this is how, the difference between AI, ML, and deep learning is, okay? So giving that as a background, let us look at why do we need AI, first of all, right? And the top few things, like I told you, is we like to make machines automated, right? So what do you mean by machines automated? I don't want to have an operator to operate a machine, for example. I want the machine to actually operate on its own. If you take that logic a little further, you can say, I want machines operating again with each other. Now that is next level of complexity, where a single machine was operating. Now you want like, a cluster of machines operating, and they kind of synchronize. It's almost like saying we have an individual working, and then you have a team of people working. And if you can do that with machines, that makes your productivity and efficiency to a huge extent. As you know, that humans have their own kind of challenges, right? For example, physically as humans, we cannot do many things. At a certain moment in time, we tire out. Our concentration cannot go beyond a point. No matter how much you practice yoga and all of that, there is a limit to that, because there is a physical limit. But machines, actually, if you start actually getting these machines to start automating to a large extent, they can operate or work almost 24/7. So that is why people wanted to have AI, and that's what actually AML actually helps to do. Now, the second one is decision making. It's very interesting. I'll just take an example of, let's say, insurance, right? And an insurance person wants to give an insurance to a customer, but he is not too sure whether this person is the right person to allow him to take insurance, because he may fake something. Tomorrow he may say something, and then you may end up have to pay back for the insurance, right? Let's say you take an insurance, and let's say health insurance, and how do you know about this person? How do you take a decision whether to give health insurance to this person? In fact, one of the biggest challenges in the insurance community, especially health insurance, is they don't want to give insurance to elderly people, because they are simply not knowing whether this gentleman will or this person will survive, how long he will survive. Should we give him like a 5 crore insurance? And what if he kind of suddenly, dies? So how do you do such smart decision is somewhere, you have to, where AML actually helps. I will talk about medical advances, because that's something I will specifically talk. It actually helps you to solve many complex problems, right? For example, if you are actually trying to find out the amount of energy required, or the amount of combustion required for an aircraft to take off while takeoff, there are a whole lot of physics-based equations that needs to be solved, and some of them takes a whole lot of time if you have to do it in the regular or the conventional way. So they do apply a whole lot of whole lot of AI methods to solve those problems with a lot of risk mitigation. Clearly, I talked about productivity and efficiency. You can actually apply that concept in every way you can think of. Like, of course, there is also the challenges of what does it mean to jobs. If machine starts to do this kind of things, what happens to so many jobs? But for sure, I can tell you that a lot of manual jobs which does not need a level of intelligence, many of them are going to go off. So that is something that people needs to get used to, because we have seen that pattern, right? So those kind of challenges are there, but it definitely will improve the productivity and efficiency, and definitely it will improve errors, because there is no human element involved. Many times errors are occurring because of the human intervention. So if you take out the human intervention to a large extent, many of the errors can be minimized. So these are like the top 6 things that one can imagine why we should go for AI/ML. Talking about AI/ML application areas, now this is a list of application areas you can think, and there are more. I just wanted to put them here just to tell you that going forward, how AI/ML is going to be everywhere. Just like how software has been everywhere in the past, right? And software today, if you look at it, I would say, do we need a lot of programmers? I don't think so. But software will be there in a different form and shape, right? So just like that, AIML is going to be there for the next, many years. There is no way one could think devices or interactions or business transactions happening without having element of AI and ML. So healthcare, I will again touch about. So if you look at agriculture for a minute, people are talking about agriculture where the amount of crops and at what time to cut the crop, depending on the climatic conditions, depending on the kind of rain coming or the amount of water that needs to be given to the crop. So all of that is powered through AI. Obviously, you need a whole lot of things to do that. So you need a whole lot of sensors. So with AI, you definitely need sensors and all kind of technology, all kind of hardware around it. But the principles like the algorithms, the AI ML algorithms are definitely going to be there, and there are going to be many types of algorithms. Government, of course, are actually, as I speak, many of the governments are using AI to find out frauds. They are actually doing a whole lot of backend processing on the transactions that people are doing. One may talk about it as a privacy issue, but the government actually has a whole lot of information about individuals, and they can actually that can actually influence how the governance would happen in the future. Environment, of course, you see that you talk about today, there are places where they are showing you what is the conditions, what is the number of, how good is the air quality, and what is the ppm and all of that. So those sensors are collecting that information, and what happens is once you start to collect information, uh, and uh, and that information becomes extremely important, because with information you can make a whole lot of changes, you can make a whole lot of difference, right? So anybody who's sitting on data or information is actually a very powerful person today, because with that you can do anything. For example, I can sit here and monitor what is happening, let's say in Rajaji Nagar. I can monitor what's happening in Malleshwaram. I can monitor what is happening in let's say any place for that matter, and I can start controlling or trying to take some measures to control it, improve it, report it. One of the challenges that used to happen in the past was there was hardly any reporting, and with this method you can actually report it, and the society comes to know about whatever is happening in a much shorter time period than what is to be happening in the past. Defense, of course, it's been used. Every weaponry that you talk about today has AI component in it. And those are actually, we call it military grade MLs or AI ML. It's a little different from AI ML that we use in the current state of affairs with the local, but this has got redundancy built in, because this is very critical. We don't want an aircraft to bomb somewhere else where it is supposed to bomb, and things like that. So whole lot of stuff is used in defense. Data security is another area that already Arvind talked about. Data security, cyber security, and security as in general security. With all cameras all over the place, you cannot fool around today, right? I mean, you even today in Bangalore, if you make certain traffic mistakes, you'll promptly get a alert saying that you did this, or so a whole lot of analysis happenings. In fact, criminals are caught just by looking at the pattern of somebody hanging around at the metro. So if a person is hanging around a metro, there are enough and more cameras. And if this person is somebody who has no business to be at the metro for a long time, and there was something happening at the metro, so that is how AI is able to find out who could be or predict who can be a person who is disturbing the place, or somebody who is a criminal. Finance, of course, like I said, in whole of risk, in terms of giving loans to somebody, in terms of managing the financials, AI ML has been used. Insurance, I already talked about. Material science, you take the material property and the chemistry of the materials. You can actually predict in what condition the material can work, in what condition the material is going to be brittle, what is its tensile force, all kind of stuff can be done based on the MLs that we have today. Designs, you have already seen that. I mean, you can give a set of parameters, and then the system actually starts to develop the whether it's a physical design or even computer-based design. Today, you have even software is written, automated through architectures, where you just have to give the requirements, right? And that'll be like that's a concern in a way for many of the software engineers, because if the machine starts to write software, obviously it's going to be much better than at least in terms of the basics, it's going to be much better than than an entry level programmer. So that's why what I meant to say, that AIML is going to really disrupt, and it's something that people cannot get away with. And even if you are not in the core of AIML, I would strongly urge people to be somehow taking that as a subject of like a minor or something like that, and be aware of what is AIML, especially engineers. Aerospace, yes, if you look at the Dreamliner 787, it's completely based on technology. It's based on landing and taking off is completely based on machine learning algorithms. In fact, the pilot has nothing to do. He just sits there and sees, just in case something goes wrong, is when he gets into the manual mode and tries to maneuver it. Literally nothing that the pilot does today. So that's the state of where automotive, I don't have to talk much about it. There's so much of things happening. Tesla being the front runner, now BMW, and everybody is following him. Robotics, yes, it's got a huge area. I'm talking about not the kind of robotics that you see, which you may be aware of. For example, if you want to clean a drainage system, which is underground, and how do you access the pipes underground? So we have something called mini robots, which actually understands how to crawl down inside and take out all the dirt or the clogs in the pipes. And you can send thousands of robots, small mini robots, and actually they can self-destruct themselves after the job is done. And all of this is done through machine learning. Oil and gas, again, if you know how oil is rigged out, how oil is taken out or gas is taken out, it's a very difficult task. It goes like a couple of kilometers down the earth to extract oil. And how do you know there is oil? How do you know at what point there is oil? So a lot of ML algorithms can actually predict the possibility of oil. So much so, it can actually say how much volume of oil or gas is available. But that is a level of these AI ML's usage in oil and gas industry today. In fact, it's extensively used in the US that I know of, at least, and I'm sure in Russia and places like that where there's an abundance of oil. Energy, as you know, the complete grid system today, especially in the West, where people are generating power and giving power to the grid. Unlike in India, we actually take power from the grid. There is ability for in the West where some of the countries actually give back to the grid and gets a whole lot of subsidies. And that mechanism of transferring and giving and taking is all based on a whole lot of machine learning methods. Water, yes, when I mean water, how do you conserve water for irrigation, for drinking purpose, and of course the disaster in terms of floods. Can we predict floods coming? Can we understand the flow of water? Why a particular way, why flooding happens in certain areas in a certain time, in a certain condition? And all of this can actually be predicted through this method. Research, of course, while these are applications of what I'm talking about is an application of AI ML, there is a whole lot of set of people who are coming up working on improving the ML part itself, the modeling, right? So what math should be used? How do you model your applications using different kind of mathematics? How do you bring the physics models and the other models? You can actually bring models of biology, physics, chemistry. How do you bring them into the math? How do you translate those models and how. So that's a completely different area, and it's very, very interesting area where you will see more and more efficient AI ML coming up with a whole lot of redundancy. Like we just are seeing a little bit of it in terms of bots. I mean, Chat GPT is one good example, which is basically, large modeling, large size language modeler. And of course, they are moving it from language to images to videos. And I mean, this is like, it's like too much if you look at what is happening and the pace at which it is happening. So even to catch up with what is happening is getting difficult. So you have to be on top of it if you want to be in the leading side of it. But it's still okay if you can follow it, because there even following and applying it is a good thing before you want to lead in these areas. So that's how you actually try to jumpstart, or you try to leapfrog. Is first you follow and then you try to see if you can leapfrog. That's what is happening, at least in the Indian research community. Most of the research in this area happens in the West, and by far in US. I mean, clearly it happens there, and by far in the West Coast of US. So one thing that we in India can do is to learn what is happening there quickly, and probably going forward, see if we can leapfrog it, because actually we have a different way of thinking in this area. So that is what the whole of research can do. Astronomy, yes, can we? They're able to predict different kind of solar system is one system. There are so many other systems in the space that we are not even aware of. We don't even know, like, which stars corresponds to what in the universe. How are they interconnected? What does it mean if something moves in space? So those kind of research has been happening in astronomy. Transport, of course, as you know, that one of the interesting problem that even Bangalore uh, BMTC or the BBMP is trying to sort out is the traffic issue in Bangalore. How do you actually solve this? Hopefully AIML may have some solutions to it. So can AIML or ML can come up with some kind of routing technique, or can we actually have a constant speed at which we can ask vehicles to move? So it need not go very fast. Is there a way to solve the traffic congestion in certain areas? So these are some of the challenging problems of transport. Language, like I said, it's actually advanced quite a bit. Today, you actually have translations for almost all languages. You can speak in one language and that can translate in n number of languages. If I speak in Kannada, it can speak in English. The same thing it can do in English, German, French at the same time. I mean, that's the level at which it has moved. So at international conferences, you are sitting and people are coming from all over the countries. And one person knows French, another person knows German, another person knows Sinhalese. And the person speaking is in English, but they all put on their headphones and they can actually hear or understand in their own language what has been told or talked about. Law, it's another area. This is going to really disrupt the way law is done today, because the ML methods can actually scan through millions of, if if not millions, at least 100,000 cases, and start giving you, the outcomes or the case histories of each of the cases, and actually end up telling you how you should argue the case and how do you refer the case. So, which is actually humanly impossible. No lawyer can sit, even if he has a team of 100 people, they cannot scan through 50,000 documents in the last 50 years or the last 30 years period. But these techniques can easily do that. Real estate, yeah, where should we buy, what land will appreciate. So that's a big area. Education, yeah, I'll just touch a little bit on this. You already have seen how first it started with COVID, and actually it kind of put into fast mode about online education. And with online education, people started to realize that actually you can collect a whole lot of information, and that is independent of space and time, because you can have people teaching you from anywhere in the world. And now that you have this amount of data, can you tailor make it for our setup? Can we make training models? Can we make at the speed at which our students learn, at the speed or the variety in which way our students can learn? So there's a whole lot of things that is happening in the education space. E-commerce, you already seen the big players like Amazon and all these guys are using this extensively to sell you products and actually kind of figure out which person will want to buy what product and all of that. Marketing, again, a whole lot of marketing things you see in terms of how products are marketed today. And obviously all those marketing outcomes are a function of many of the ML solutions that is thing. Human resources, you will be surprised to see that in many companies they use AI ML to identify the best next product or the next person they wanted to hire. So it is almost impossible if an HR department to look and scan through about 10,000 resumes and figure out who are the best, or even to identify who will last in our company based on the culture of the company, based on what the company value systems are. And therefore we want people of that type, right? So ML actually helps a lot. Social media, you already seen. It has also a lot of negative connotations where there is a lot of fake information. It looks almost real. It looks as though the real person is speaking, but for sure eventually that it was not said by this person. So there's a positive to it as well as to the lot of negative. Sports, it's been used extensively today. I must tell you the level of AI ML used in sports is, I mean, sports is becoming technology. You are going to win a match based on technology and less about how good you are physically. Because if you look at the team, everybody is as good as each other. Now, if everybody is as good as each other, it's just a matter of the technology advantage or the delta advantage that you need to win a game. Like if you're playing football, it just means that you just need to score one goal more than the other team. So if you can somehow understand how the competitors or your opposing team is playing, where is the defense weak, and if the ML is going to give you that information, that can be a huge advantage. Gaming, you already seen that. Entertainment, yeah, most of these new generation movies are based on ML. All the side, the special effects, and I mean, you can do a voiceover of any person. You can have my voice, and if you don't show my face, you'll think that I'm speaking, but actually it must be a machine talking. In the space of lifestyle, also hospitality. In the hospitality industry, you'll be amazed to see that if you ever happen to go to Singapore and you check into a hotel where you had already gone, the system knows you already that you are so and so, and it'll actually check you in even before you go to the counter. So ML actually recognizes that this person is a trusted person and there's no need to do all the formalities. So you can just walk into into your room. And this is some of the application areas. There are a lot more. So in that sense, it's really huge. Yeah, this is the area in which we work at SciMath, predominantly in the cancer research and cancer products. So AIML actually has been extensively used in diagnostics and treatment, in drug development, disease monitoring and prediction, health monitoring and variables. So the difference between disease monitoring and prediction and health monitoring is you must have seen a lot of people wearing those watches, which actually picks up a lot of information and kind of monitors you. Not only monitors you, it has the ability to also tell you what you should do. For example, it can tell you that today you're not walked enough, or today your BP has gone up, or you are like perspiring too much. All of these things is being used in the space of health monitoring using variables. That's an area which will also pick up, I feel. Of course, it's very obvious in disease monitoring and prediction. We, for example, are looking at a whole lot of cancer cells and be able to predict, at what stage the cancer is. I have a separate slide for that, which I will show you. Yeah, then of course, identifying whether there's an error in dosage, which is one of the common things that happens, is that many people either overdose themselves or they don't take their medicine. And that is one of the critical things. Whereas, is there a method of telling the person that, look, you have not taken the medicine today? Especially this happens with elderly people. Personalized healthcare is connected to, like I said, the variables part of it. Plus, it can be connected to your own doctor giving you identifying exactly what kind of medication or what this individual has to do. Now there is a move towards personalized healthcare, because if you have realized that there is a huge problem in India, at least, about antibiotic immunity. So there is so much of antibiotic given not only to patients and people, and also in the food, that we are becoming resistant to antibiotic, and that's it's a very dangerous situation, because if you become resistant to antibiotics, then no medicine works on you, and that is fatal. It's just a matter of time that nothing. It's like you don't have immunity. That's another avatar of not having immunity. So virtual nursing assistant is about, obviously the nurse cannot be there with all the patients. So is there a way for the assistant or the nurse to know something has happened in, let's say, room number 204, and therefore she has to immediately contact, let's say, a cardiac surgeon, because it's not just knowing what has happened, but who should she contact, because on her own she may not be able to do. So those kind of things are happening again in the AIML space. A lot of research. Robotic assisted surgery is picking up. In fact, it is so good that even a very experienced surgeon cannot stand in front of it, because the precision at which it does incision, or the precision at which it marks the tumor cells or the tumor area and then tries to extract it out, humanly it is not possible, because our hand actually shakes, and that shake is enough error to actually cut areas which you are not supposed to cut. So this is another area where AIML is playing. Gene editing is a totally different area where people are figuring out what gene corresponds to what combination of genes corresponds to what diseases. They're trying to see if you can predict how long you're going to live and things like that. Again, cybersecurity and fraud detection can also happen in this space, in the healthcare space. It can happen on the patient data, it can happen on the building data, it can happen on the business data as well. Okay, so very quickly, this is the work that we have been doing as I speak now. We're trying to identify breast cancer cells. Why is it so important? Is because just last year, we had 200,000 new breast cancers in India. And about 100,000 people died because of this. And obviously, the methods that they use today is not all that great. Obviously, these methods are Western methods. So we are trying to find a method in which can we identify different types of cancerous cells that occurs in the breast. So there are these 4 types of cancer cells predominantly there. And can we actually, looking at the images, can the machine learning algorithm understand what these images are? And can it actually say that, yes, this is actually papillary carcinoma, without trying to do too much of incision and cutting? Because if you understand how cancer operates, you should never irritate a cancerous cell. If you irritate a cancerous cell, it will come back with vengeance. That's why whenever people say if you have cancer, many times they say, let's leave it alone, unless you know what you are supposed to do. That's why radiotherapy and chemotherapy, the success rate is, less than 10%. And that's something that as a company, we are working to see whether we can do away with radiotherapy and chemotherapy, because actually speaking, the success rate of these 2 methods are less than 10%. But obviously, they wouldn't say that because there's no other alternate solutions to addressing cancer problem. Okay, this is my last slide. And yeah, so I think Arvind also talked about it. If you want to ask me what is the opportunity, it's huge. I mean, I can't even quantify it. You can think about applying AIML everywhere that comes in your mind, because it's nothing but modeling what the solution comes in your mind. If you can mathematically model the solution that you have in your mind, then you pretty much are doing AIML. And what do you need for it? Obviously, you need data. You need to have something to work upon, right? And once you have the data, then what do? You have to model it. The model can be based on the domain. Like I said, it can be based on, let's say, cancer. So we understand cancer. So we try to bring the elements of cancer into the model. We need to understand physics. Many times you have a whole lot of physics based. For example, there is when you give a drug, there is something called as pharmacokinetics, like how the drug actually moves into your body. And there's a physics behind it. The drug also moves in a certain in a physics based method. And then you need the math, of course, for the ML, where you talk about either you're talking about logistic regression or ResNet, or you're talking about all kind of methods, right? Clustering algorithms, supervised learning, unsupervised learning. All of that is based on mathematics. And one of the most important thing that I want to introduce here was systems thinking. AML needs a lot of systems thinking. That means you have to look at the problem in totality, whatever is the atom size. So an atom is a single element which is total. Okay, so if you're trying to solve that, you have to look at it not like a pointed problem. You have to look at it in a systemic way. You have to look at it like holistically. What relationships each one has. If I tweak something, what will happen to something else? So if you are not careful about it, many of the models don't work because they work only in one area. That's why we have something called as generative or generalistic models today, which are far more difficult to actually model. Because if you try to solve a single problem, by solving that single problem, you actually introduce many problems, which it may not be obvious for you at that point in time, but over the period of time, you realize that by solving one problem, you have actually introduced many other problems. And that is not the way we want AIML to solve. We want to solve, when we solve a problem, it has to be completely systematic. For example, if I want to solve a cancer related problem, if I cut the tumor cells, and but that in terms of in cutting the tumor cells, I have affected the lymphatic system of the body. Now there's when there's a disbalance of the lymphatic system, you have all kind of side effects coming out of it. So that is not the kind of solution we really want to do in the true sense of AIML. Obviously, you need hardware, software embedded. So you have to understand, you have to have the skills, if not as an individual, but a team. So if you look at the whole AIML story, it's never an individual player. You have to have domain experts, you have to have science experts, you have to have coding experts. You talked about data science. You need to have a whole lot of people to work with you to really come up with some good solution. And that's why I think universities like Dayanand Sagar, which actually gives you this platform to kind of try out everything. They have everything there. I have been lucky enough to be associated with them. So I see that they have literally all of this in their departments, in their labs. It's just that, if you enter there, you should know how to leverage it, how to kind of combine all these dots, or, connect the dots. Finally, just a little bit of statistics for you, just to tell you how big is the opportunity. Just in 2025, AI software is going to be $126 billion. And this is from very recognized global consulting agencies. It's not from some local bodies. So that's a huge number. Gartner already has told that 37% of organizations have already started to implement AI in some ways, in some departments at least. And that has grown by about 270% the last 4 years. That's a huge number if you look at percentage. Just in 4 years, they have kind of grew by 270%. That means that more and more companies are going to take AI into their business systems, or into their product development, or in the services that they provide. They are going to embrace AI. So therefore, AI/ML becomes a very interesting topic to be or work on. And finally, like you already seeing this, that 95% of customer interaction by 2025 is going to be through AI, which you actually start to sense. Maybe we don't like it because we are not used to talking to a machine, or a machine responding to us. We still want some human being to talk to us, right? But this is going to be more and more AI based, where you have chatbots and all kind of bots which will try to answer your solutions. So with that, I want to stop at this. I think I've taken more than the time I've been given. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pradeep Desai. It was a wonderful, detailed application orientation, especially when it comes to AI. Thank you so much for giving these details to the students. So while in the students, we look forward to the anticipation in terms of I think most of the questions that has come into us today, we have taken it up and we have tried to answer all of that while the presenters were presenting. I'm sure the students must have got the answers to most of the queries that they had. But in case if you have, you can always write back to us, and we will have the answers shared to you for those particular things that you are looking out for. So before we look forward to the end of this particular session, let me just give you a brief roundabout to the students, especially for the ones who are coming to Unigage to us. As you must have already registered for the Unigage examination, which is for your COMET-K examinations, you can also take the DSET examinations with us. And the DSET examinations for students who have registered with Unigage, you do not have to pay any application fees to Dayanand Sagar University. You can register for DSET and you can mention your Unigage details to us. While the examination for DSET is already scheduled on 29th and 30th of April. This is under the home-based proctored test. So this is a unique offer for all the Unigage students, especially who are present for this webinar today, that we do not take any extra application fees because you have already paid an application fees to Unigage for your COMET-K exams. So with the same fee details, which we will be asking for you, you can share those details and then there will be no application fees for you when you take up the test with Dayanand Sagar University. Otherwise, for other students, yes, we have a wide range of specializations available. If you look into our website, you'll have all the details available to that. We have AI/ML, we have the regular computer science engineering, where you can choose your specializations in year 2 if you want. Otherwise, we have the courses available under AI/ML. We have a computer science engineering with AI/ML. We have a computer science engineering with cyber security. We have a computer science engineering with data science. And we also have computer science and technology, where you have the cloud and DevOps as the options. We also have launched this year the BTech in robotics and AI. So these are the wonderful specializations available for all of you. As far as the examination goes, yes, if you are interested in getting a good amount of scholarship, then I would definitely recommend you to take up this test. If you have not yet filled in your applications, please fill in your applications and we will allow you to take up the test, which is scheduled on the 29th or the 30th. You can tell us which of these dates are okay with you and you will take the advantage of this. With this, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for today. I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor, Sir, Dr. K.M. Murthy, Sir. I'd like to thank Professor Arvind Srinivas and also Dr. Pradeep Desai for taking out time and sharing the video, the wonderful thoughts and the application orientation in the industry practices that they do, which is definitely a very good insight for the students to understand what exactly are going to be my job roles, what are the areas of applications that come in when I look forward to computer science engineering and the various specializations of computer science engineering. So thank you so much to the distinguished speakers. And a big thanks to Unigage for allowing their students who have registered for their examinations to be a part of this webinar, which is exclusively for them, to see how advantageous it is going to be with Dayanand Sagar University, which is one of the premium universities today. So thank you so much to Unigage. And of course, a big thanks to all the other students who have directly registered and are attending this particular webinar. The topic computer science engineering has taken a new turn, definitely is of a lot of importance to all of you. You need to know what areas, what specializations, something that you like, and how is it going to help you, because this allows you to passionately take up the career that you want to do. So thank you so much for this and being a part of the webinar series under Right Career, Right Place. We will be delightful to also inform you that tomorrow, between 11 and 12:30, we have another webinar where the topic is on the electronics and communication engineering, where we are going to touch upon the new age specializations of AI. And of course, we are also going to talk about VLSI. These are evergreen fields and the job market is also lucrative. So electronics and communication engineering will be the topic for tomorrow. Under the computer science engineering has taken a new turn. We will talk about the electronics and communication engineering along with new age specializations. So stay tuned with us tomorrow. We will share if you're able to register for the webinar, we will share you the joining link for tomorrow's webinar. So thank you so much. I will stay online for some time and continue to answer the questions that are coming there. But otherwise, a big thanks to all of the speakers and all of the students, and we will look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.